I do have another weird crime story for you because
Oh,
Jeremy left us alone. And I was wondering if you would tolerate me bringing up a throwback. I'm going
I'm
to
down.
bring it up on screen here. Everyone watch me struggle as a neo boomer for a second. So, do you remember? I believe this was a year and a half ago, if not slightly longer. There was a man who went momentarily viral on YouTube one night. And I remember I was doing IRL at the time. It was during the after show because he posted a video where he had beheaded his father. And do you remember this at all?
This sounds vaguely familiar, though. Oh
He put
my
up
goodness.
the weirdest YouTube video. He's a guy. So his name is Justin Mohn, and he posted this video. And I remember at the time seeing it on X, being like, "This is weird," and it was. I mean, it's disturbing. The video came down. He's now on trial. So he was this young guy. I'll see. Yeah, this was the screenshot from the
Oh
video here. Does that look
no.
familiar?
He does, but he also kind of does look like somebody who could snap.
Okay. So the thing is, he's on trial. His trial started a couple days ago. And without a doubt, I think this person is like deeply mentally disturbed and crazy. Like, if you told me he was
Yeah.
schizophrenic, if you told me he had some like clinical manic issue, I would believe you. Because at the time during this video, it was like justifying why he did this because at the time he was like, well, my dad works for the government and the government is bad, and also I'm going to declare myself president and I'm going to activate Mohn's army and they'll be organizing everywhere, and like he was giving out all these crazy instructions. And he's on trial now. See, New York Post is describing him as a crazed conspiracy theorist. Says he
Oh.
executed and beheaded his father and posted footage on YouTube because his dad wanted to stop him from becoming the next Donald Trump. Justin D. Mahone, 33, took the stand at his trial and coldly told the court how he shot 68-year-old Michael Mohn in the head while attempting a, quote, citizen arrest after he said his father threatened him and tried to take away his 9mm handgun. I believe his family was aware that he was having like psychological issues.
But how
It's
would
really
he
sad.
become the next Donald Trump?
Well, he declared himself president, Melonie. You're obviously not keeping up.
I guess so.
The other part of this was that he's in Pennsylvania. He's on trial in Bucks County. He was living with his parents, or his dad and his stepmom, I believe. And he drove onto a military base after this. So just a lot of stuff not making sense. And this is the family. They've obviously blurred a lot of people's faces. But I just can't imagine being the family. This is the quote from trial. I unfortunately had to use deadly force.
Unfortunately, guys, I had to do it. It was my only option. What the heck?
Isn't that crazy?
See, I can't help but feel like there is a bit of a danger with things like when people get really into certain movements online and they think that reflects real life, when a lot of times it doesn't. You'll see that on, whether it's Reddit, 4chan, even X, right? You see when you're constantly indwelled in that, and I see it a lot on X because I'm on X every day, and then you go out in the real world and you're like, oh wait, real people aren't talking about this. Real people aren't even thinking about this. But when that's what you see constantly online, it's real to you. And so there is a danger in getting super into these movements. And there can be a danger of getting too into conspiracies as well. I love conspiracy theories. I have been really into them for the past few years, but there is a level, you have to have a level head about it. Like, okay, don't take everything so serious because not every conspiracy is real.
Right. I'm also not even convinced, like they're calling him a conspiracy theorist, but I think this person is crazy. Like,
right, for sure.
There's one thing to be like, hey, I have questions about, I don't know, the Epstein list, or I have questions about the way the government is funding something or involvement in this particular geopolitical conflict. It's another thing to attack your own family, declare yourself president, and activate your personal army. Like, I don't think that they're exactly the same thing. And I don't like that the New York Post is equating them to being the same thing. No, a delusional person who's unwell could fall down a online rabbit hole, and it could
Right.
feed some of their psychosis for sure. But
Exactly.
I don't let's not say all conspiracy theorists are a hop, skip, and a jump
For
away from
sure.
this. I mean,
Yeah, because
very,
I
very
do love
weird.
conspiracies, but I think that it's tough whenever you're dealing with somebody who is mentally unwell and
Mhm.
who because they conspiracies can negatively affect mentally unwell people for
Yeah.
sure because they can take things way too far and
Mhm.
they just don't have the discernment to say, oh, this one's crazy or this one makes sense but this one's crazy or maybe this makes sense but there's parts about it I don't agree with, or they
Right.
just go so like all in with some of these and then they get into some crazier and crazier stuff because when it comes to conspiracies, yeah, there's a lot of truth to a lot of them, but then
Mhm.
there's also going to be a lot of crazy stuff mixed in as well, and so without the discernment, yeah, you can really put
Right.
yourself in a dangerous situation.
Right. I mean, you can't like keep people from the internet. Like I'm thinking
Right.
this USA Today article says Pennsylvania man's parents tried to get him help, then he beheaded his father. Uh, you know, if they were trying to say like you seem like you're having an issue, maybe they weren't aware of the extent of what was going on. It's hard to exist in this day and age without some kind of contact to the internet. So it's not even like they could just be like, oh, we kept him offline and that kept him from falling further down whatever issue he was having. Uh, I also think about the rest of the family in this case. Like he's got siblings, he's got, his father is married. Like there are so many people who were impacted by this crime, and I can't
Mhm.
imagine what it's like to uh, go through this. Like you have this person who you grew
Yeah.
up with who has taken away someone you love. I mean, it's just awful. And it, you know, I I think comparing the New York Post article where they're saying he wanted to be the next Donald Trump, like kind of, but also this happened before Trump was elected. And
Right.
again, I go back to the fact that the guy, because I reported on this when it was breaking, and I remember watching video, and he is like, it doesn't make any sense, but he also is like, I am now the president, and you're like, oh, are you?
I feel like
Interesting.
the author of this article too, it just has a bad case of TDS, so they got to try
Mhm.
to insert Donald Trump into everything for just him saying I want to be president means, oh, look, this guy is being like Donald Trump and he murdered somebody because people try to create this false narrative that
Right,
MAGA is some murder cult, and it's just
right.
like couldn't be further from the truth.
Right. I
But
mean, this happened January 30th, 2024, but they're saying he wants to be a charismatic politician. So that couldn't have been wanting to be like Biden. That had to be
oh
like
yeah.
being like Trump, even though Biden was president at the time. Um, what do you think? And maybe we can pull on your experience as a Christian here. Not that I'm not a Christian. You're just
Right.
maybe better at explaining things than I am.
Oh, I
Uh,
know.
how do you like if you believe in the doctrine of forgiveness, like you're supposed to forgive people who have trespassed against you? I just can't imagine what this is like. It makes me think
Ooh.
of when the Carmelo Anthony attack happened in
Mhm.
Texas, and you've got the victim's family immediately saying, well, we forgive him. uh, do you forgive? How do you come to forgiveness in cases like this where violence occurs?
This is so tough because if I try to think of something like this happening to one of my family members, it's like something on it. It's a lot easier to forgive if it's a lot smaller scale of something. But something like this, man, my initial reaction would be, wow, I don't know if I ever could forgive that. So my thought with something like perhaps in the Carmelo Anthony case, right, where Austin Metcalf's dad was forgiving, that
Mhm.
could have been a supernatural experience. That could have been just the Holy Spirit, um, you know, dwelling within him that produced the forgiveness that he had. Because against our human nature, we're not going to. It's not in our nature to be forgiving people in human nature because human nature is sinful. So I think in cases like this, it has to be a supernatural spiritual experience, and
Yeah.
that is evidence that looks like evidence that Christ is within him, that he was able to beyond his own flesh to have a forgiving spirit.
Yeah. I think there is it's always interesting to hear about the families uh of the families who are the whose I don't know why I can't talk right now. Their family members are the victims of violent crimes and coming
Right.
to this forgiveness, but also forgiveness doesn't mean that there's no justice, right? Like if
Exactly.
Austin Metcalf's dad forgives Carmelo Anthony, you can still say, but he should have to be punished with consequence.
Yes.
Like in this case with Justin Mohn, I have this paragraph highlighted and I almost don't want to read it because it talks about his mother who described the horrifying moment she found her husband's head in the bathroom of their house. Like,
Oh, what a nightmare.
you know, you could have empathy for someone who is mentally ill, although, you know, he has pled not guilty to this. So I
Right.
wonder how much you'll hear about this during the trial. But his actions had profound impacts on the people who raised him, on his siblings, especially to his mom. Like that's so disturbing and such a horrible thing to go through. On the other hand, like this is her child. So you have to
Right.
reconcile these things. And, you know, it's so hard, and I think that is why you hear so many people talk about I think it's interesting that you hear so many people talk about forgiveness in cases like this because it's so beyond your control, but that is actually one thing that you might have influence over. Like you are in control of your own emotions and your own reaction to this.
For sure.
I just can't imagine it.